Hello?
Hello?
What's up?
Did you get that project done yet?
No, not yet.
Make that Discord thingy now.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Modern Technologies. I'm your host, Young Junk. We're back. We're gonna go for another little 6 minutes, something or other sort of podcast. Today's topic, we're gonna focus on communication and how it's kind of changed throughout the world. You know, how technology has changed from one end to the other. You know, from back way far in the past to all the way to now present times and even in the future. With me today, I actually have 4 guests. I have Mr. Flickinger, which is an NYT author. He's going to be here today collecting some information for his new and upcoming article that he's going to be writing. Mr. Flickinger, how are you doing today?
Oh, pretty good. Glad to be here.
Awesome. We also have Mr. Gangsign here. Mr. Gangsign is actually the inventor and creator of the very popular, obviously everybody uses, the Wi-Fi. Basically helped and was one of the founders of that idea of the web and stuff like that. So, Mr. Gangstein, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty great. How about you?
I'm good. How are you? Wait. Okay. Anyways, we also have Mr. Running Man, which is the Spacebook CEO, one of the very famous social media platforms. Mr. Running Man, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem, man. And finally, obviously not least, we have Professor Severe, which is a college professor for communication and technology at KSU. He has years of work in technology, and he is definitely one of the most qualified people in this podcast today. How you doing, Mr. Severe?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you, sir?
Not bad myself. All right, so yeah, we're just gonna basically start. We're gonna try and see how this will go. We'll kind of roll off of each other. Sound good, everybody?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So first question, or first idea. Obviously, technology has changed way beyond anybody's mind in the past, and from the past all the way up to the present, even into the future. I mean, obviously, everybody knows that it started. One of the biggest influential technologies was the telegram, all the way back in 1844, which obviously none of us can fathom because none of us were alive. Severe certainly is getting down that way, but obviously this has slowly evolved and has made info quicker and easier to kind of transmit, all the way up to stuff like floppy disk, emails, and even to like some of the first video games that people enjoy online, such as Pong. And then obviously up to the future to cell phones, the web and stuff like that, and even all the way up into the future beyond us. We have stuff that is way beyond our ideas that we'll probably end up seeing. Stuff with like VR makes me excited personally and stuff like that. So, and obviously this is all going to change the world greatly. My first thing, this first thing I was a little had a question for was Mr. Running Man, which the question was, obviously as a social media creator of Spacebook, a lot of people, you'll have CEO companies and advertisements advertise on your platforms and kind of create a place where they can reach people across the world, which is amazing, and that's kind of what technology has allowed us to do. Now, here's my question for you. How does that affect you as the CEO of Facebook? And is that kind of what you had in mind when you were creating the social media, or did you just had your mind set on, consumerism, money, stuff like that, where you just set on the economy rather than the global scale?
Well, when I first created Spacebook, I was thinking about a better way for people to communicate, and in order to increase consumerism and have people invest into Spacebook. And a study showed by 2018, 2.44 billion people using social media. They invested in it and they spent a lot of time on it. And people like to buy ads, and it's a nice way for consumerism to go around.
Obviously, it's great. I've been on Facebook myself. It's a great platform, by the way. I mean, the advertisements. Honestly, they don't bug me at all. And to be honest with you, it helps the CEOs of those companies and the consumers of those companies to get out to them quicker. So, obviously, the global connection that social media and stuff like that is amazing. Now, this all couldn't be possible without the web, which a Wi-Fi is a giant portion of, right? And obviously, we have one of the founders of Wi-Fi here, Mr. Gangsign, who kind of created this. Now, same question for you, Mr. Gangsign. When you were helping to create Wi-Fi, right, and you were helping to create this connection to the web, how did you did you also have that goal in mind to have everyone kind of get socially connected all around the world and to help people and businesses and everything like that, and even the economy? This affected literally everything, every aspect of our life, everything. Is this what you had in mind?
Honestly, like, in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. I would have never thought that it would have as large of an impact as it does today. I mean, 87% of smart devices in homes are connected to Wi-Fi. Like, no one can live without it anymore. It's everywhere. It's used for everything. Banking, video games, just talking to people online. We're using the Wi-Fi right now. And I was just thinking of how people could, like, talk easier, but I would have never thought it would get this big.
Obviously, I use Wi-Fi every single day, and I think any of our listeners, anybody in this Discord call right now, obviously thinks, everybody uses technology every single day, and Wi-Fi, and it's just affected our lives so much. Now, obviously, there is some cons, and I've heard Mr. Severe and Mr. Flickinger have some ideas on the cons of technologies nowadays. Mr. Flickinger, let's just start with you. Obviously, you're writing a paper on this. So, if you want to explain, like, you said you had some ideas on why technology may be affecting us negatively. What are you thinking there?
So what I'm thinking is, like, we need to go back to the older times where no one had to rely on technology as much as they do nowadays. You walk into a room and all the kids are on their phones, like, they're not even talking to each other half the time. And I just think overall that we should, like, start trying to bring it back a little bit and not rely so much on it. Because what are we going to do without it one day? And
I hear what you're saying.
I also think it's bad because we used to be so productive, my bad. And now it doesn't seem like we're yeah, you can go ahead.
I get what you're saying. I for one can say, as a student myself, every time there's some free time at the end of the class or something like that's going on, you seem to see students, my peers, immediately they go and grab for that phone, right? And they don't talk, socialize. They'd rather talk or text people online rather than talk to the person sitting right next to them, which is obviously a negative impact. So it's kind of a balance beam that we probably need to keep, wouldn't you say? That we need to keep between being on the devices and not being on the devices, and it kind of ruins the teeter-totter there. Mr. Severe, what are your thoughts on this?
Personally, I think it's pretty good and pretty bad at times. Some of the cons in this is, like, there's lack of interaction between the youth, like, just like Mr. Flickinger said, like, there's a lack between the youth. It emotionally, like, numbs us to the point where we talk to anyone. We don't interact. Physically, we become more numb, and all around us is just not a good thing. But there are some good into it, like some positives. Obviously, it's easier communication. Social media, like, helps us respond to natural disasters. And yeah, I mean, all around, I mean, it's pretty even. There's some good, there's some bad.
Okay, and in your many years of work through being a professor and all, you talk to a bunch of students and you work with technology all the time. So I can definitely see how you can see both sides of the story here. Now, I will say some negatives that I thought in my head when I was thinking about this is like I see a lack of emotion between my peers a lot of the time. I see a big increase in inequality, which is it's beyond me that technology would cause something like that. I see, obviously this is a grander idea because I mean, obviously we're talking a global effort here. It affects everybody, not just us as one generation, but it affects everyone. It further spreads and the gap I think between rich and poor communities and countries.
Hold on,
I'm sorry, what was that, Mr. Severe?
I'm gonna.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, Mr. Severe, we didn't hear you.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay, that's no problem. We'll just continue without you. Just let us know when you're back.
Oh, no idea. Who do they? I'm talking.
I'm sorry, Mr. Severe. You're
Oh.
you're not muted.
Well,
Oh, okay. All right, we're just gonna continue. Breeze over that. Anyways, I see. Like I said, sorry, that was a little off topic. We have a lack of physical and social interaction. I see. It's all around. I think there can be a lot of negative problems. So, what I wanted to speak with you guys real quickly was, how do you think we can solve it? Obviously, this is a problem. Obviously, there's some good efforts, there's some bad efforts. So, any of you, like, how do you guys think that we can push towards solving this problem?
Okay, you can go ahead, Mr. Flickinger. I'm sorry.
Alright, thank you. I'd say that we can start limiting ourselves on the technology because it seems no one really has a limit for it anymore. They're all over it, you know?
I hear you. What were you thinking, Mr. Gangstein?
I was thinking we need to more monitor what people say on it. Make sure people are being positive, not causing fights. Maybe restrict world leaders on how they are to make sure they're professional. Same thing with CEOs and everything. Just make sure people are good online.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. I agree, and obviously it's not just a problem between neighbor to neighbor ideas, but even globally we see fights being started against world leaders, such as if obviously our past president Donald Trump was on Twitter a lot of the time, and a lot of his tweets may have been controversial between even his own community of the U.S. But you can even see world leaders on technology and how much it's affecting other countries, just what they're saying on these technologies, right? And obviously we can't say that that communication wasn't even affected in the past as well. Stuff like with the newspaper printer, can someone remind me what that was called? What was that called? The printing press? Was it? Yeah, the printing press. It kind of helped get out news and stuff like that. For like the newspaper was created and stuff like that. So a lot of it, everything, just communication, and it just helped people more easily be connected. And that's basically what I was trying to get around today. And obviously, we tried to solve that issue with the social interaction being less, being not as vague, very vague, and not being very emotional. But obviously, that's a small problem in the whole scheme of things. Now, one final thing before we kind of end this podcast for today. What do you guys think technology will look like in the future for communication?
You see, I think we're kind of getting there already. Like, we're getting to the future because we can already send a message halfway across the world in like half a second. It's insane how far we've come in technology, especially in the communication department.
I agree with Mr. Flickinger. Like, I believe we were already about to reach our peak of communication because we can already message somebody or get a hold of somebody within the second.
Mm-hmm. I think I agree. I think that at one point we will reach the peak, and I think at one point we won't be able to get any farther than we already have. I think at one point there's no faster that you can send a message. There's no quicker that you can call someone. So at some point it's going to hit a brick wall, I believe.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure we're getting there close.
Yeah, it's definitely close. And another thing I was thinking about was like not just like international communication, but maybe like interstellar communication eventually. But I think that's a story for another time.
Oh, obviously, that's a whole nother podcast there. And like we talked about the different generations, such as like the tech savviness between the generations is kind of separating each other. So I think further generations with how savvy they'll be with the tech and how much better suited they will be with the tech is when we'll get to those bigger areas. But it seems that the older generations that we live among right now have just a hard time seeing as what they grew up with was not as advanced as what, say, we grew up with. So I think that's about it. That's about all I wanted to talk with you guys today. I want to thank you all for being on the Modern Technologies podcast. It was a good one today. So yeah, without any further ado, I guess I'm gonna say goodbye to you guys for today, and thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being guests, guys.
Yep.
And thank you for having me.
Yep. Thanks for
I'll
having us.
see you.
Yep, no problem. Well, we'll see you guys in the next one.
Mm-hmm.